The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive station that orbited the planet Verith Prime, inside the Great Hall. Representatives from 40 different species sat in their designated sections. The air hummed with translation devices, turning hundreds of languages into something everyone could understand. Today's meeting was supposed to be routine, but everyone could feel the tension in the room. Ambassador Taemin stood in the human section, his hands clasped behind his back. He was a tall man with graying hair and tired eyes. He had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council for 12 years now, and he had learned to read the room well. Today, something bad was coming. He could sense it. Councillor Vexrel rose from his seat in the Verith section. He was massive, nearly 8 feet tall, with scales that shimmered green and gold under the chamber lights. His species had ruled 40 star systems through military might, and everyone knew it. When he spoke, his voice was deep and carried across the hall without need for amplification. "The human expansion must stop," Vexrel announced. "They have established colonies in the disputed territories of Sector 7. This is unacceptable. The Verith Empire claims those systems. We have claimed them for 300 years. Taemin stepped forward calmly. "Those systems were empty when we arrived. No Verith settlements. No Verith ships. Just empty worlds and unclaimed space. We followed every galactic law regarding colony establishment." "The law means nothing against our claim," Vexrel hissed. "We conquered those systems from the previous inhabitants. They belong to the Verith Empire by right of superior force. You humans are newcomers to this galaxy? You have been here barely 50 years. You do not understand how things work." Other council members shifted uncomfortably. Many species had suffered under Verith expansion, but none were strong enough to challenge them directly. The Verith had weapons that could crack planets open. Their fleets numbered in the thousands. They had never lost a war. Taemin was about to respond when another figure stood up. The entire chamber fell silent. It was Elder Korth, a being so old that some believed he had been present at the founding of the council itself. His species looked almost human, but their skin had a faint blue tint, and their eyes were completely white. They were observers, a species that traveled the galaxy watching other civilizations rise and fall. They rarely spoke in council meetings. "I request permission to address this matter," Elder Korth said. His voice was quiet but clear, the council speaker. A floating jellyfish-like creature granted permission with a wave of its tentacles. Elder Korth moved slowly to the center of the chamber. He looked directly at Vexrel. "I must warn you against this course of action. Do not attack the humans. Do not engage them in warfare. This is not a political suggestion. This is a warning born from observation and knowledge." Vexrel laughed. It was a harsh barking sound. "You dare threaten the Verith Empire, Old One? Your species has no military, no weapons. You are watchers, nothing more." "I do not threaten," Korth replied. "I warn. There is a difference. My people have observed humanity since they first looked up at their stars. We watched them when they lived in caves. We watched them split the atom. We watched them reach their moon. And we learned something about them that you have not yet discovered." "And what is that?" Vexrel asked mockingly. "They do not stop," Korth said simply. "Other species fight until victory or defeat. Humans fight until the end. They carry their grudges across generations. They remember every wrong done to them. They teach their children to remember. If you attack them, if you kill their people, they will hunt you. Not for years, not for decades. They will hunt you forever. It is in their nature. It is what made them the dominant species on their world, despite being weaker than many of their planet's predators." The chamber was completely silent now. Even the translation devices seemed to hold their breath. Vexrel's scales rippled with anger. "You speak of primitives who only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. We have weapons that can destroy stars. We have conquered species far more advanced than these humans. What can they possibly do to the Verith Empire?" Elder Korth turned to look at Taemin. The human ambassador met his gaze and nodded slightly. Korth turned back to Vexrel. They will do what they have always done. They will endure. They will adapt. They will learn. And they will never forget. On their homeworld, they hunted animals to extinction by simply following them. Day after day. Week after week. The prey would run, and the humans would walk after them. The prey would rest, and the humans would keep walking. Eventually, the prey would collapse from exhaustion, and the humans would be there. They call it persistence hunting. It is their oldest strategy, and they have never abandoned it. Fairy tales, Vexrel snorted. We will crush their colonies. We will show the galaxy what happens to those who defy the Verith Empire. Taemin finally spoke again. His voice was calm, almost sad. We came to this galaxy hoping to find friends. We brought gifts of culture, art, and science. We followed every law. We respected every boundary. We asked for nothing except a place to live and grow. But if you insist on war, we will give you war. I want you to understand something clearly before you make your final decision. He paused, and every eye in the chamber turned to him. We are not warriors by choice. We are not conquerors by nature. But we have fought wars on our world that lasted 30 years. 100 years. We have fought wars over religion, over resources, over pride. We have scars on our planet from conflicts so old that we barely remember what started them. But we remember the conflicts themselves. We remember every battle, every soldier, every civilian who died. We build monuments to the dead. We teach our children their names. We carry them with us always. Taemin's voice grew harder. If you attack our colonies, if you kill our people, you will not be starting a war that ends with surrender or peace treaties. You will be starting something that will last as long as both our species exist. We will hunt every ship that fires on our worlds. We will track every officer who gives the order. We will follow them across the galaxy if necessary. And we will never stop, never. This is not a threat. This is simply explaining to you what we are. Vexrel stood tall, his scales flashing with reflected light. The Verith Empire does not fear human persistence. We have 300 warships ready to deploy. We will strike your colony in New Bizan within 3 cycles. If you do not evacuate it immediately, your colonists will die. This is our final warning to you, human. The council speaker tried to call for negotiation, but Vexrel was already walking toward the exit. Other Verith representatives followed him. The chamber erupted in worried chatter. Many species had seen wars before, but something about this felt different, wrong. Elder Korth approached Taemin as the crowd dispersed. I am sorry, he said quietly. I tried to warn them. Taemin nodded, his face showing the weight of what was coming. I know, thank you for trying. But the Verith are like many others we have encountered. They believe that weapons and ships equal strength. They do not understand that the most dangerous species are not the ones who can kill the fastest, but the ones who refuse to stop. What will you do now? Korth asked. Tae-Dashmin looked out the chamber windows at the stars beyond. I will go home. I will inform my government. And then we will do what we have always done when someone attacks us. We will remember. And we will respond. 3 cycles later, the Verith fleet arrived at New Bizan. The war had begun. The colony of New Bizan sat on a world covered mostly in grasslands and shallow seas. It was a young settlement, only 15 years old, home to 30,000 humans. Most were farmers and scientists who had come here looking for a fresh start away from crowded Earth. They grew crops, studied the local ecosystem, and built simple lives under an orange sun. Dr. Hayun stood in the colony's command center, watching the sensor displays with steady hands. She was the administrator of New Bizan, a former biologist who had traded her lab coat for leadership when the colony needed someone calm in crisis. Right now, she needed every bit of that calm. 300 ships, Commander Jiwoo said from his station. He was younger than Hayun, a career military officer who had volunteered for colony defense. They are not even trying to hide their numbers. They want us to see how outmatched we are. Nodded. The Verith fleet had dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system 3 hours ago. They were coming straight for the colony world, no subtlety, no strategy, just overwhelming force. "Have we received any response from Earth?" she asked. "They acknowledged our distress call," Jiwoo replied. "But the nearest fleet is 3 weeks away. We are on our own." Ha-Yun had known that would be the answer, but hearing it still hurt. She walked to the window and looked out at the colony. She could see the residential sectors, the agricultural domes, the school where children were probably having afternoon classes right now. All of it would be gone soon. "Begin evacuation protocol," she ordered. "Everyone into the underground shelters. Prioritize children and elderly first." "Administrator, the shelters were not built to withstand orbital bombardment," Jiwoo said carefully. "They will buy us time, but if the Verith use heavy weapons—" "I know," Ha-Yun interrupted gently. "But we do what we can. Every life we save matters. Get them underground, now." The evacuation began immediately. Alarms sounded throughout the colony. People dropped what they were doing and ran for the shelter entrances. Parents grabbed children. Neighbors helped elderly residents. The colonists had drilled for this scenario, though no one had truly believed it would happen. Now it was real. The Verith fleet broadcast a message on all frequencies. Admiral Dorvak's face appeared on every screen in the colony. He was massive even for a Verith, his scales a deep emerald color, his eyes yellow and cold. "Humans of New Bizen," he announced. "You have 2 hours to surrender completely. Lay down any weapons. Disable your power systems. Gather in the central square. If you comply, you will be taken as prisoners. If you resist, you will be exterminated. You have 2 hours. Ha-Yun stared at the screen. She knew what surrender meant. The Verith did not treat prisoners well. Those who survived would be slaves, property of the Empire. Some things were worse than death. She opened a colony-wide channel. "This is Administrator Ha-Yun. Do not surrender. Get to the shelters. We will endure this. Help is coming. Stay strong." Commander Jiwoo looked at her. "We have 40 defense fighters and some surface cannons. We cannot win this battle." "I know," Ha-Yun said. "But we can make them remember us. We can make them work for this victory. And most importantly, we can record everything. Every ship that fires. Every face of every officer. Every word they say. When Earth arrives, our people will need to know exactly who did this." Jiwoo understood. He began organizing the defense. It would be hopeless, but it would matter. Every minute they delayed was another minute for evacuation. Every Verith ship they damaged would be one less ship the Empire could use later. The 2 hours passed quickly. The Verith fleet moved into orbital positions. Admiral Dorvak broadcast one final message. "Your time is up. You have chosen extinction." The bombardment began with surgical strikes. Particle beams lanced down from the sky, vaporizing the colony's power generators. Then came the missiles, thousands of them, spreading across the surface like deadly rain. The defense cannons fired back, managing to destroy 2 Verith frigates before they were silenced. The colony's small fighter craft launched, piloted by volunteers who knew they would not return. Ha-Yun watched from the command center as her colony died. Buildings collapsed. Agricultural domes shattered. Fire spread through the residential sectors. The sensors showed the evacuation progress. 22,000 people in the shelters. 8,000 still on the surface, unable to reach safety in time. "Get everyone you can underground," she ordered. "Every single person matters." Commander Jiwoo was coordinating from his battle station, directing the fighters, managing the last defense systems. One of the junior officers turned to Ha-Yun. "Administrator, you should get to the shelters. The command center will be a priority target." "No," Ha-Yun said firmly. "I stay here. Someone needs to record everything. Someone needs to transmit the data to Earth." The bombardment intensified. The Verith were not content with destroying military targets. They hit schools, medical centers, residential zones. They were making an example of New Bizon, showing the galaxy what happened to those who defied them. In the shelters below, people huddled together as the ground shook. Parents covered their children's ears. Some prayed. Others cried. All of them waited, hoping the reinforced walls would hold. Commander Jiwoo's voice came over Hyun's communicator. Administrator, I am transmitting all combat data to the Deep Space Relay. Earth will receive everything: ship identification numbers, weapon signatures, command frequencies. They will know exactly who did this. Good, Hyun replied. Thank you, Commander. It has been an honor serving with you, Jiwoo said before Hyun could respond. A massive explosion rocked the command center. One of the Verith destroyers had targeted the building directly. The structure began to collapse. Hyun was thrown to the floor. She could hear screaming, feel the heat of fire spreading. With her last strength, she reached for the communication panel and activated the emergency broadcast. Her fingers found the right buttons from memory, even as dust and smoke filled her lungs. This is New Bizon, she transmitted. We are under attack. 15,000 dead. The rest in shelters. Remember us. Remember what they did here? Remember, the ceiling fell. The transmission ended. Commander Jiwoo heard the silence and knew what it meant. He was still in his battle station, coordinating the last few defense systems. Around him, the colony burned. On his screens, he could see the Verith fleet beginning a second wave of bombardment. Targeting the shelter locations now, he opened a final transmission, setting it to automatic repeat on all frequencies. His voice was calm, despite everything. This is Commander Jiwoo of New Bizon Colony. To any human ships receiving this, we fought. We held as long as we could. 15,000 of our people are dead. The rest are in shelters that will not hold much longer. The Verith fleet consists of 300 ships, commanded by Admiral Dorvac of the Verith Empire. All ship identification codes and battle records are attached to this message. Remember us. Remember what they did. And when you come, make them understand what it means to attack humanity. Make them regret every shot they fired here today. He paused, looking at a picture on his console. His wife and daughter, back on Earth. He would not see them again. Remember us, he repeated softly. Then a particle beam struck his position, and the transmission ended. The bombardment continued for 6 more hours. When it finally stopped, New Bizon was gone. The Verith fleet had destroyed every building, collapsed every shelter, burned everything that could burn. Of the 30,000 colonists, fewer than 5,000 survived in the deepest bunkers. Admiral Dorvac recorded a victory message and broadcast it across the galaxy. The footage showed the burning colony, the destroyed defenses, the total destruction. It was meant to be a warning to others who might resist the Verith Empire. On Earth, in the colonies, in every human settlement across known space, people watched the footage. They saw their brothers and sisters die. They heard Commander Jiwoo's final message. They learned the names of the dead. Something changed in humanity that day. The politicians stopped arguing. The corporations stopped competing. The military stopped worrying about budgets. Everyone understood that something had to be done. In living rooms and cafes, in offices and factories and ships and stations, humans made a simple promise to each other. New Bizon would be remembered, and those who destroyed it would pay. Not today, not next week, but someday. However long it took, the Verith Empire had won the battle. But they had started something they could not understand. They had awakened something patient and terrible. Elder Korth, watching from his observation ship, made a note in his people's historical records. Today the Verith Empire defeated a human colony. In doing so, they have guaranteed their own eventual destruction. They do not yet know this, but they will learn. 6 months had passed since New Bizon burned. The Verith Empire waited for the human response with their fleets ready. They expected a massive attack, perhaps a declaration of total war. Admiral Dorvac positioned defensive forces around key systems and fortified border stations. They were prepared for anything except silence. No human fleet appeared. No declarations of war came. The borders remained quiet. Some in the Verith military began to wonder if the humans had accepted their defeat. Perhaps they understood now that resistance was futile. Then the disappearances started. The first was a patrol ship near the border. It missed its regular check-in. When a search vessel arrived at its last known position, they found nothing. No wreckage. No debris. Just empty space. Equipment malfunctioned, they decided. It happened sometimes. 3 days later, a supply convoy vanished between two Verith systems. 6 ships carrying food and ammunition simply never arrived at their destination. This time they found wreckage, but it was strange. The ships had been torn apart from the inside, not destroyed by external weapons. A week after that, a military outpost went dark. When reinforcements arrived, they found the base intact but empty. All 300 crew members were gone. Security footage showed something impossible. Figures in human combat suits appearing from nowhere inside the sealed station. Moving through corridors like ghosts, then vanishing with captured Verith personnel. Warlord Krath commanded the border region where these incidents occurred. He was a veteran of 12 campaigns, a warrior who had never known defeat. But these disappearances worried him in a way that open warfare never had. Enemies you could see, you could fight? This was something else. Show me the pattern. He ordered his intelligence officers. They displayed a star map with red markers showing each disappearance. There was no clear pattern. Remote patrol routes. Busy convoy lanes. Isolated outposts. The only common factor was that they were all in Verith-controlled space. The humans were somehow operating deep in enemy territory without being detected. How are they doing this? Krath demanded, "Our sensors should detect any ship entering our space. We have detection grids at every border." His intelligence chief, a younger officer named Vix, had been studying the problem for weeks. "Sir, we believe they are using a new type of stealth technology, something beyond our current detection capabilities. But more concerning is the pattern of attacks. They are not random." Vix highlighted certain markers. These were all ships or stations that participated in the New Bisan attack. Every single one. They are specifically targeting anyone who was there. Krath felt a chill run down his spine. "You are saying the humans are hunting specific individuals?" "Yes, sir. And they appear to have perfect intelligence about who participated in that battle. Ship registries, crew rosters, transfer records. They know exactly who they are looking for." Meanwhile, in the darkness between stars, Captain Haijin monitored her displays with patient eyes. Her ship, the Silent Wing, was barely larger than a shuttle, but it was packed with technology that made it nearly invisible. No heat signature, no electromagnetic emissions. Even light bent around its hull, making it a hole in space. She commanded one of 50 such vessels spread across Verith territory. Her crew consisted of 12 specialists, engineers, hackers, soldiers. All volunteers. All people who had lost someone at New Bisan. "Target is approaching," her sensor officer reported. "Verith Destroyer, designation V442, confirmed present at New Bisan. Current crew complement matches records." Target command officer is Lieutenant Vral. Haijin studied the approaching ship. Lieutenant Vral had commanded one of the bombardment teams. His weapons had destroyed the colony's medical center, killing 800 wounded civilians and their doctors. His name was on the list that every human hunter carried, the list of those who would answer for New Bisan. "Begin approach," Haijin ordered. Silent running. Match their course and velocity. The Silent Wing moved like a shadow, sliding through space without leaving a trace. It took 3 hours to position themselves directly beneath the Verith destroyer. The enemy ship had no idea they were there. "Deploy boarding tube," Haijin commanded. A narrow tunnel extended from the Silent Wing, its tip lined with molecular cutters. It touched the destroyer's hull and began to cut through the armor in complete silence. The Verith ship's sensors registered nothing, the cut too small and precise to trigger alarms. When the breach was complete, Haijin and her assault team entered the tube. They wore powered armor that moved silently, weapons that fired silent projectiles. They were ghosts, moving through the enemy ship like a nightmare. The first Verith crew member they encountered died without making a sound. Then another, and another. Hyjin's team moved through the ship with practiced efficiency, heading directly for the command deck. They knew the layout of every Verith ship class. They had studied. They had trained. They were ready. Lieutenant Vrao was reviewing star charts when his command deck doors sealed suddenly. He turned confused as human soldiers materialized from corridors that should have been empty. He reached for an alarm, but a silent round struck his hand. "Lieutenant Vrao," Hyjin said in perfect Verith language, "you are accused of crimes against humanity. Specifically, the murder of 800 civilians at New Bisan colony." Vrao's eyes widened. "How did you? This is impossible. You cannot be here." Your sensors see what we allow them to see," Hyjin interrupted. "You have been judged and found guilty. Your crew will be released." "You will not." She nodded to her team. They placed a small device on the bulkhead and activated it. It began to burn words into the metal in Verith script. "For New Bizan, we do not forget." Vrao was taken. His crew was locked in their quarters, unharmed but terrified. Before leaving, Hyjin activated the ship's communication system and broadcast a simple message. "This vessel's commander participated in the New Bisan attack. He has been taken for trial. Others who were present will also be found. There is no place in this galaxy you can hide. We are patient. We will never stop hunting you." The silent wing detached and vanished back into the darkness. The Verith destroyer's crew would eventually break free and report what happened. But by then, Hyjin would be hunting her next target. The same scene played out across Verith space. 50 human ships, hunting. Sometimes they took individuals. Sometimes they destroyed entire vessels if the crew resisted. But they always left the same message carved into bulkheads or broadcast on emergency frequencies. For New Bizan. Warlord Krath received reports daily now. His forces were terrified. Crews refused deep space assignments. Officers requested transfers away from the border. Morale was collapsing, not from battle losses, but from fear. The humans were out there, invisible, patient, hunting. "We need to show strength," Krath told his war council. "We need to strike back. Show them that the Verith Empire does not cower." "Strike back at what, sir?" Vix asked. "We cannot detect their ships. We do not know where they are based. They appear, strike, and vanish. How do you fight an enemy you cannot see?" "Then we attack their colonies," Krath decided. "If they want to hunt us in the dark, we will burn their homes in the light." But before he could issue the orders, intelligence brought him disturbing news. Human shipyards had been detected in deep space, far from any star system. Not small facilities, but massive construction platforms. And they were building something. Fleet sensors showed hundreds of vessels under construction. Admiral Sunho oversaw those shipyards from his command ship. He was older than most fleet officers, gray-haired and quiet. He had retired after 30 years of service, living peacefully on a colony world. Then New Bisan happened. His daughter had been a teacher there. She died in the bombardment. He came out of retirement and requested only one assignment: hunt the Verith Empire. "Construction is ahead of schedule," his shipyard coordinator reported. "We will have the first battle fleet ready in 6 months. Current count is 400 vessels. Carriers, destroyers, supply ships. Everything we need for extended operations." Soho nodded. The hunter teams were doing their job, keeping the Verith off balance. But the real response was still being prepared. When it came, it would not be a quick strike or a raid. It would be systematic, complete, final. "Continue construction," he ordered, "and send a message to all hunter teams. Tell them to increase pressure. I want every Verith officer who was at New Bizan to feel afraid every moment of every day. I want them to understand what they started." Back at the Galactic Council, Elder Korth watched these developments with sad eyes. Other species were beginning to notice the pattern too. The humans were not starting a war in the traditional sense. They were conducting an execution, slow and methodical. A council member from a peaceful species approached Korth. Can they be stopped? This vendetta will destabilize the entire sector. Stopped? Korth replied. Perhaps. But who would stop them? The Verith started this. They killed 15,000 humans to make a point. Now humanity is making a different point. They are teaching the galaxy a lesson that some species refuse to learn. There are some enemies you should never make. Some grudges that never die. Some hunts that never end. But this is madness. Revenge on this scale. 2 years had passed since New Bizon. The Verith Empire was dying, though its leaders refused to admit it. They had not lost a single major battle. Their fleet still controlled dozens of star systems. Their military remained one of the largest in the galaxy. Yet somehow they were losing. Empress Velshara stood in her throne room on the Verith homeworld, reading casualty reports that made no sense. How can we be losing 8 systems when we have won every engagement? Her military advisor, General Corvin, looked tired. He had aged a decade in 2 years. Majesty, we are not losing the systems in battle. We are abandoning them because we cannot maintain them. The humans do not attack our fleets directly. They siege our worlds. They blockade our supply routes. They wait. Then we send forces to break the blockades, Velshara snapped. We have, Majesty, multiple times. Each time, the human fleets scatter before we arrive. They retreat to safe distance. Then, the moment our forces return to base, the humans come back and resume the blockade. We chase them away, they return, we chase them again. They return again, it never ends. Velshara crushed the datapad in her hand. This is not how wars are fought. Where are the battles? Where is the honor? The humans do not care about honor, Majesty. They care about results, and their strategy is working. Our economy is collapsing. Every system we try to defend costs enormous resources. Every fleet we deploy must be supplied. Every supply convoy needs escorts. Every escort requires support. The humans are bleeding us dry without fighting. It was true, though it hurt to admit. Admiral De Jong had perfected the strategy of patience. His fleet would arrive at a Verith system and take position outside weapons range. They would not attack. They would simply wait, turning away any ships trying to enter or leave. No food, no medicine, no ammunition. Nothing in or out. When Verith forces came to break the siege, De Jong's ships would retreat. They would not fight unless they had overwhelming advantage. They would just leave. The Verith would claim victory, postcards, and return to other duties. Then, sometimes days later, sometimes weeks, the human ships would return. The siege would resume. It was maddening. It was humiliating. It was incredibly effective. De Jong sat in his command chair, watching another Verith relief fleet approach. His tactical officer looked at him questioningly. Sir, they outnumber us 2-1. Recommend we retreat. Retreat, De Jong agreed calmly. His fleet withdrew to a safe distance. The Verith fleet commander broadcast a victory message. De Jong listened to it without emotion. Let them celebrate. He had time. Sir, the relief fleet is delivering supplies to the planet, his sensor officer reported. They are staying in orbit to ensure we do not return? How long can they maintain that position? De Jong asked. Intelligence suggests their supply lines are already stretched thin. They can hold for maybe 2 weeks before needing to resupply themselves? Good, we wait 3 weeks. Let them waste. Fuel and supplies guarding against an attack that will not come. When they leave, we return. This was the pattern across 8 Verith systems. Human fleets that refused to fight losing battles, that valued their ships and crews, that understood war was not about glory but about exhaustion. They made the Verith. Empire maintained forces everywhere, all the time at enormous cost. Meanwhile, human industrial capacity had grown explosively. The shipyards Sungho had built were producing vessels faster than they could be destroyed. For every human ship lost, 3 more launched. The mathematics were simple and brutal. The Verith were fighting with the forces they had. Humanity was building the forces they needed. But it was not just military pressure. Human agents had infiltrated Verith communication networks. They broadcast messages on civilian frequencies. The war is costing you everything. Your leaders attack innocent colonies and then wonder why you suffer. Demand peace. Demand the officers responsible be turned over for trial. End this war before it destroys you all. The messages were having an effect. Protests erupted on Verith worlds. Citizens who had cheered the attack on New Bizon now wondered why their food was rationed, why their families were dying in an endless conflict. The propaganda about swift victory had proven false. The reality was grinding, terrible, and getting worse. Empress Velshara finally made a decision. She needed to negotiate. Pride meant nothing if the empire collapsed. She sent a message through diplomatic channels requesting a meeting with human representatives. Ambassador Taemin received the request on Earth. He was no longer the primary diplomat, having been promoted to coordinator of war negotiations. When the message arrived, he read it carefully. Then he scheduled a meeting. They met on a neutral station in the same council chamber where this had all begun. Empress Velshara arrived with a small security detail. Taemin came alone. Ambassador, Velshara said, her voice tight. We need to discuss terms. I am listening, Taemin replied. The Verith Empire is willing to offer reparations for New Bizon. We will pay compensation to the families of those who died. We will cede the disputed territories. We will establish a demilitarized zone along our borders. These are generous terms. Taemin nodded slowly. Those terms would have been acceptable 2 years ago, before New Bizon burned, before 15,000 of our people died. Now they are insufficient. Then what do you want? Velshara asked. Total surrender? Unconditional, we want justice, Taemin interrupted. We want every officer who participated in the New Bizon attack turned over to human authorities for trial. We want Admiral Dorvac. We want every ship captain, every weapons officer, every soldier who fired on our colony. We want them all. Velshara's scales rippled with anger. Impossible. I cannot turn over hundreds of our military personnel to face human justice. Our people would never accept such humiliation. Then the war continues, Taemin said simply. You are being unreasonable. We are offering you territory, money, resources. What more do you want? Taemin leaned forward. We want you to understand something, Empress. We did not start this war for territory or resources. We started it because you killed our people. You did not just destroy a colony. You destroyed families, children, dreams. You took 15,000 lives to make a point about power. Now we are making a different point. We are showing the galaxy that attacking humanity has consequences, real consequences, permanent consequences. So this is about revenge, Velshara said bitterly. No, this is about accountability. Your empire has conquered 40 star systems. How many species did you destroy to build that empire? How many millions died? And what happened to those responsible? Nothing. They were celebrated, promoted, rewarded. That cycle ends here. The galaxy needs to learn that some actions cannot be undone with diplomacy or reparations. Some crimes require justice, and if I refuse? Velshara asked. Tae-Min pulled up a display showing fleet positions. Human forces surrounded 15 Verith systems now. More were coming. Then we continue the siege. We cut off your trade. We isolate your worlds. We wait while your economy collapses. While your people go hungry. While your government faces rebellion. We can do this for decades, Empress. We have the ships. We have the resources. We have the will. The question is, do you? Velshara stared at the display. She could see the truth in it. Her military advisors had shown her the same projections. The Verith Empire could hold for maybe another year, 2 if they were lucky. But eventually the math would win. The humans would win. Not through superior tactics or better weapons, but through simple, grinding, relentless pressure. You are asking me to sacrifice our warriors, our heroes, the very people who fought for our empire. They are not heroes, Taemin said quietly. They are murderers. They killed civilians. Children. They destroyed a peaceful colony to intimidate others. That is not heroism, that is terrorism, and it will not stand. My people will never accept this, Velshara insisted. Then your people will watch their empire die, slowly, system by system, world by world, until nothing remains except the memory of what you once were. That is your choice, Empress. Justice now or destruction later. There is no third option, Velshara stood. I will not negotiate under threat. The Verith Empire does not surrender. No one is asking you to surrender, Temin replied. We are asking you to face justice. There is a difference. The meeting ended without agreement. Velshara returned to her homeworld and refused the terms. She gave a speech to her people about honor and resistance. She promised that the Verith Empire would prevail. 3 months later, her own military attempted a coup. They failed, but Velshara was killed in the fighting. The new government was even less willing to negotiate. Admiral De Jong received the news aboard his flagship. He read the report, then turned to his crew. The siege continues. All ships maintain positions. We wait. However long it takes, De Jong replied. We made a promise to the dead of New Bizan. We promised to remember them. We promised that their deaths would matter. That promise does not have an expiration date. Across human space on every colony and station, memorials to New Bizan grew larger. People added names, stories, pictures. Children were taught about what happened there, why it mattered, why they continued to fight. The dead became part of human culture, woven into their identity. New Bizan was not just history. It was present. Always. 5 years after New Bizan, the Verith Empire existed only in history books. Their homeworld was surrounded by human fleets. Their colonies had declared independence or been abandoned. Their military had scattered into refugee armadas fleeing across the galaxy. The mighty empire that had conquered 40 star systems was gone, but the hunt continued. Admiral Dorvac had been running for 3 years. He had changed ships 17 times. He had hidden among refugee populations, used false identities, even underwent biological modification to alter his scale patterns. Nothing worked. Somehow, the humans always found him. He was currently on a salvage vessel far from any major system, working under an assumed name. His crew did not know who he was. He kept to himself, did his job, and tried not to think about the inevitable, because he knew they were coming. They always came. Young Su was 19 years old. He was part of a specialized tracking unit that hunted war criminals across the galaxy. He had been 13 when New Bizan burned. His aunt had taught biology there. She died in the first bombardment wave. He grew up with her picture on his wall and her name on his lips. Now he hunted those responsible. We have a positive identification on Dorvac, his team leader announced. He is using the name Kreval, working on a civilian salvage ship in the outer reaches. The ship is 3 days away at current speed. Young Su checked his equipment methodically, weapons, armor, documentation files, everything he needed to make an arrest that would hold up in court. Because that mattered. They were not assassins. They were law enforcement. Every person they captured would face trial, evidence, justice. The salvage ship was called the Metal Wind. It was old and slow, crewed by refugees and outcasts. When Young Su's ship approached, the captain assumed they were pirates. He was almost relieved when they identified themselves as human military. We are looking for someone, Young Su told the captain. A Verith male, approximately 7 feet tall, distinctive scar pattern on his left shoulder. He may be using the name Kreval. The captain's expression changed from fear to resignation. Bay 3, he keeps to himself. Never causes trouble. Is he really? Yes, Young Su confirmed. He is really Admiral Dorvac, the one who ordered the attack on New Bizan. The captain nodded slowly. Take him. Just do not hurt my crew. They are innocent. Young Su's team found Dorvac in the engine room, performing maintenance on an old fuel processor. When he saw the human soldiers, he did not run. He simply set down his tools and raised his hands. How did you find me this time? He asked. We never stopped looking, Young Su replied. Every ship manifest. Every immigration record. Every transaction. We tracked them all. You left a trace when you purchased those medical supplies 4 months ago. Wrong currency, wrong syntax in the order form. It took time to confirm, but we got there. Dorvac laughed bitterly. 3 years. I have been running for 3 years. I changed everything about myself. And you found me because of medical supplies. We would have found you anyway, Young Su said. This just made it faster. You cannot hide from us, Admiral. No one can. We are patient. We are thorough. And we never forget. As they led him away in restraints, Dorvac asked a question that had haunted him. Why? Why can you not let it go? It was war. Soldiers die in war. Colonies are destroyed. This is how conflicts work. Why are you different? Young Su stopped and turned to face him. 15,000 people, Admiral. Not soldiers, farmers, scientists, teachers, children. My aunt was there. She taught biology to elementary students. She helped kids learn about the universe. You killed her because you wanted to make an example. I was following orders, Dorvac protested. The Empress commanded, and you obeyed, Young Su interrupted. You could have refused. You could have resigned. You could have done anything except what you did. But you chose to attack a peaceful colony. You chose to murder civilians. You wanted us to fear you. Instead, you taught every species in the galaxy to fear us. Congratulations. Dorvac was silent for the rest of the journey. Meanwhile, at the Galactic Council, an emergency session had been called. Multiple species demanded that humanity cease its pursuit of Virith war criminals. The Empire was destroyed. The war was over. Continuing the hunt was excessive, they argued. Admiral Suho attended the session. He was older now, his hair completely white, but his eyes were still sharp. He listened patiently as various council members spoke. The Virith Empire no longer exists, one counselor argued. Your war is won. Why continue this vendetta? It is not a vendetta, Sung-ho replied calmly. It is justice. We are not hunting random Virith citizens. We are hunting specific individuals who committed specific crimes. They killed 15,000 civilians. They destroyed a peaceful colony. Under galactic law, those are war crimes. But the pursuit has lasted 5 years, another counselor protested. Your forces operate across the galaxy. You board ships, search stations, demand records. This disrupts trade and travel for everyone. We apologize for the inconvenience, Sung-ho said without emotion. But justice does not expire because it becomes inconvenient. Every person we hunt had a choice. They could have surrendered years ago. They could have faced trial. Instead, they run. We chase. That is how this works. Elder Korth stood then. He was ancient now, his movement slow, but his voice remained clear. The Council should understand what they are requesting. They are asking humanity to forget, to move on, to let murders go unpunished because enough time has passed. Is that the standard we wish to set? The Virith were punished, a counselor argued. Their empire is destroyed. Millions suffered. Is that not enough? Sung-ho pulled up a display. It showed a simple image, the memorial on Earth listing every name from New Bizan, 15,000 names. My daughter's name is on that wall, he said quietly. So are the names of children, parents, friends, people who never hurt anyone. People who just wanted to grow food and study stars and live peaceful lives. And they were murdered. Not in battle. Not in combat. Murdered because someone wanted to send a message. He zoomed in on one section of the memorial. These 43 names are a school class. First graders. 6 years old. Their teacher is listed here, Dr. Jisun. She taught them art. She died trying to get them to the shelters. Most of them did not make it. The chamber was silent. You ask why we continue? Sung-ho continued. Because those 43 children deserve justice. Because Dr. Jisun deserves to be remembered. Because if we stop, if we give up, if we let their killers escape, simply because time has passed, then their deaths meant nothing. And we will not accept that. Ever. He turned to face the entire council. You wanted to know what happens when you attack humanity. Now, we do not forget. We do not forgive. We do not move on. We remember forever, and we make sure that those responsible answer for what they did. If that makes us monsters in your eyes, so be it. But we will be monsters who honor our dead. The council voted to condemn human actions. It meant nothing. The hunt continued. Another 2 years passed. Young Su, now 21, had participated in the capture of 43 war criminals. Each one faced trial. Each one was found guilty based on evidence, testimony, and their own recorded actions. Each one was sentenced according to galactic law. The last target was finally located on a remote station. A junior officer who had participated in the bombardment. He had been hiding for 7 years, living under a false identity, working as a janitor. When Young-Su's team arrived to arrest him, the officer did not resist. He simply asked, "How long would you have hunted me?" "Forever," Young-Su replied. However long it took. With that final arrest, the list was complete. Every officer who had participated in the New Bizan attack had been found. Some had surrendered. Some had been captured. A few had died resisting arrest. But all had been accounted for. The news spread across human space like wildfire. On Earth, at the New Bizan Memorial, millions gathered to witness the announcement. Admiral Sun-ho stood before the wall of names and spoke simply, "We promise to remember. We promise to seek justice. We have kept our promise. Every person responsible has answered for what they did. The dead of New Bizan can rest now. Their deaths have meaning. Their memories endure. They will never be forgotten." People wept, some in grief, some in relief, some in pride at what their species had accomplished. The hunt was over. Justice had been served. The promise had been kept, but the galaxy had learned a lesson. Elder Korth spoke at a council session months later, addressing young species just beginning their journey into space. His words became famous, repeated in classrooms and military academies across hundreds of worlds. "I have observed many species in my long life. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have witnessed wars beyond counting. But I have never seen anything like humanity. They are not the strongest species, not the fastest, not the smartest, but they are the most dangerous. Because they refuse to forget. Because they carry their dead with them always. Because they will hunt you across the galaxy if you harm their people. Not for years, not for decades, forever." He paused, letting the words sink in. The Verith Empire learned this too late. They thought they were attacking a weak colony. They were wrong. They were attacking memory itself. And memory, once awakened, never sleeps.